Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Good morning. Good morning, Danny Hidden. Good morning, Kareem. Good morning, KB. I hope you are well. On Binance Square, we have a lot of chatty people this morning. Good morning, Anne, Helena. Good morning, Augusta. Augusta, I think, is the name. Mohammed, no risk, no reward. Good morning, Bitcoin buyer. I hope you're all doing incredibly well. The stream is about to start. And here I am. Good morning, everybody. It is Monday. It is March. Bitcoin is over $73,000. Everybody is happy. Everybody is partying in the streets. And I have a thumbnail called Doomed. Okay? Now, I have literally just put out a video about what we're about to talk about today on the stream, but I understand that that video is only going to be in one place and not the other place, so we're going to go over it again today. Also, as I have said a few weeks ago, I am going to have a question of the day. Whether I keep this up or not is a different matter. On a slow news day, it might be 100 B-sized bears or one bear-sized bee. You never know. But today is a solid question. And we're going to cover this in the X-Files as well. So there's going to have some context around this. Will China invading Taiwan happen and cause a Bitcoin crash? That's the question of the day that we're going to ask. As you can see, I am Mike. This is Crypto Warehouse. And according to my thumbnail, we are doomed. That's the opening of the show. We're going to be talking about a lot today. We're going to be talking about Bitcoin decoupling from the markets. Why has it happened? The second bit of news today is about BIP 110. And I don't normally do two bits on Bitcoin, but both of them are important to understand the context of them. And BIP 110 is something which is causing a great deal of consternation in the markets. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about whale selling on Ethereum. I'm going to look at the Bitcoin chart and the Ethereum chart today. And the reason I want to show you the Ethereum chart is to basically gloat about the price targets we had for Ethereum, because we haven't looked at Ethereum for weeks and those price targets are still on the chart, and that chart is still showing you the price that Ethereum is today. We're also going to talk about XRP facing systematic rigging. We're going to have a look, and this is a bit of a different element as well to the show. Van der Pop, Michael Van der Pop, don't know how to pronounce his first name. He's put his portfolio up, and I want to show you a trader's portfolio, because you need to understand not everybody in the universe is making a 10x every day. Okay, and Michel has published his portfolio. I'm going to go through it with you, not coin by coin, but I want to show you the amount that he's invested and what that's worth today, because you have to understand the mindset that he has got. And it's probably not the same mindset that you've got. The second you buy a token, you want that token to go up 50%. It's not how it works. You have entry prices, you have exit prices, and you need to get the correct mentality for that. We're going to be talking about what AGI is. Why is that important in respect to crypto? Because I am fairly bullish on a few AI tokens, which we're going to cover as well. And then finally, this is my favorite title of the day. Melee High Five. I was going to call it the Melee High Club, but I don't know if anyone's going to get that. Okay, so it's called Melee High Five. It's my title of the day. It's my favorite one. I hope you won't happen. Max has said it won't happen during the stream. I hope not. That would be absolutely ridiculous. Could you imagine if that happened during the stream? Anyway, let's go and have a quick look. We have Mike. What's the word? Mikeception. I think you've got Mike within a mic, within a mic, within a mic, within a mic. I mean, what more could you ask for? To be fair, if you ask my wife, there is more than enough with one of me. So let's go and have a look at the prices. Bitcoin coming in at $73,440. It's up 8% in the last week. Are you not entertained? Ethereum, $2,267. It's up 13% in the last week. BNB, Hasn't really moved, to be honest. It's $676. XRP has lost its stable coin title. It's now 147. The maximum break in snooker. Solana is back at $93.40. Again, doomed. I'm sticking with it. Cardano is going to get back to 30 cents, as we all know. Hype, however, Hype is absolutely ripping up trees. I did put a tweet out yesterday, by the way, last night, which I'll show you in a minute, which has been well received. And it's a list of some tokens that, if you look at fundamentals, you should probably look at investing in. Not financial advice, of course. Then we've got Chainlink down here. I still want people arrested for a $9.65 Chainlink. Anything under $20 for Chainlink, in my opinion, is a criminal offence. Okay? It's not a $9.65 token. There is absolute garbage above Chainlink on here. And this is from somebody that comes from a different background to crypto and has been around the block a few times. This is like seeing, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a really crappy burger joint. This is like seeing Burger King having a higher value than Nvidia. That's what it's like when I see Dogecoin with a $17 billion market cap above Chainlink at a $6.8 billion market cap. It's not right, okay? Now, I would hazard a guess, in the next 5 to 6 years, Dogecoin will drop out of the top 10, probably drop out of the top 20, and I would hazard a bet that Chainlink will probably sit somewhere around 10th, 11th on the top projects, because other projects are going to come up. Hyperliquid is a beast. You're going to see the likes of Solana, BNB, Tron. They'll cement their places alongside Ethereum and Bitcoin and XRP, and hopefully Cardano will be there as well. But there's some really good recoveries, but we're nowhere near where we were. And again, the famous meme is you're down 80% and you're celebrating a 10% gain. So let's stop patting ourselves on the back here. We're not Warren Buffett yet. Anyway, the gainers then, Pepe is up 20%, Polkadot, Bonk is up, Pudgy Penguins. Now this fills me. KB would have got the joke. Anyway, when meme coins lead the rally, that's a huge sign that the risk on assets are desirable again. And this is a really strange thing to explain, because there's no fact, probably there is a fact, but there's no fact that I have ever looked at that suggests this. But when meme coins lead the rally, it's different to when the likes of the layer ones and the dexes lead a rally. It's a different kind of rally when you see the meme coins, and we haven't seen this in a very long time. So we've seen Pepe is up there, Bonk is up there, Pudgy Penguins is up there, Shiba is up there as well. I'm not saying that's a red flag, but I think he likes playing with Pokemon too much, okay? There are some other projects up there, of course. Layer Zero is up there, ASI is up there. But again, I am not celebrating a 44.6% pump when ASI is at 21 cents. Okay? ASI, or ASA, whatever it calls itself nowadays, this is a multi-billion-dollar project sitting at $470 million. Okay? I'm not celebrating this, okay? I would be celebrating a $3 or a $4 FET, let's call it by its original name. It's easy to say, because that's probably where it should be right now, but it should have gone to $5, $6, $7, $8. It didn't. We didn't have it the whole season. So there's a lot of good gainers today. Even Ethereum is down there, the 12th biggest gainer of the last 24 hours. Absolutely fantastic. Losers, Kite is down there, Canton, Sky, not really many losers. I don't really care about the losers today. I'm not here to depress you. Well, I am actually. That's why my title is called Doomed, but you know the idea. Anyway, you need to play your part. Remember, do you think China will invade Taiwan? And we're going to get onto that tweet in a minute. And if it does, is that going to affect the price of Bitcoin? That's the question of the day. I'm expecting people to be answering that question. If you don't answer it, I'm going to be very, very sad. It's going to mean you're driving a car or you're doing something important. You're not really paying attention. Now then, this week is a big week. I believe we have a big Wednesday. We do indeed. Wednesday is core PPI and the FOMC interest rate decision. I can pretty much guarantee now we are not getting a rate cut. Okay? The Iran crisis has scared Chairman Powell again. Chairman Powell is like a little tiny puppy, okay? Anyone drops a bottle on the floor, anyone pops a bag of crisps, Chairman Powell runs behind the sofa and peeks out, right? He gets scared at everything. Liberation Day scared the willies out of him. Nothing happened, okay? Because he listens to the catastrophization. I've kind of learned that word now. And he's not going to cut rates. Oil prices are going up, which means inflation will go up, which means cutting interest rates is not on the agenda. So there will be no rate cut on Wednesday. And I'm as certain about that as I've ever been about any rate cut decision in the history of me doing this. Okay, there's no rate cut on Wednesday. If he cuts the rates on Wednesday, he needs to be, I can't say what needs to happen. He needs to be ground up and fed to the fish. Anyway, before that, on Monday and Tuesday, home sales, jobless claims on Thursday will be a big indicator. I think there's going to be more. I think the economy is starting to fracture in America. Friday, nothing scheduled. So big day on Wednesday. As I say to Kishan, who ignores me all the time, don't leverage trade on the day of the FOMC decision. Don't do it. You're going to get wrecked. They'll wick you up and they'll wick you down and they'll clear you all out. The shorts and the longs will be destroyed. The 50Xs, the 20Xs, you're all dead on Wednesday. And you're going to do it again. I'm just trying to warn you. Now, we have never forgotten about the list of charts we do on Mondays. We just stopped doing them because there were so many charts. It was taking half the stream. We cut them out to try and put a bit more information into the stream. You are asking what this is. This is the dollar index. This is the price of the dollar. You will see we have 3 lines on that screen. Those are the same 3 lines we have had on that screen going back probably, I would say, to September last year. Now, again, the DXY, it's not like a cryptocurrency. It doesn't move that much. So the 3 lines are fairly obvious. We have the 100, which we have, if we zoom in. Now, I haven't looked at this chart in months, and I have said that Bitcoin is going to break 100. Sorry, the DXY is going to break 100 because that's where it was coming from. You will remember the last time we talked about this was probably down here. No, I don't. Maybe it was. But we didn't bring the chart up. Now, down here, you had an awful lot of people telling you that the dollar is the weakest it's ever been. The dollar is weak. Trump is destroying America. It's finished. The dollar's going to go to zero. What's going on? And you were being fed, again, fed garbage. Garbage in, probably not so much sophisticated garbage out, but you get the idea. You were told that this was going to keep happening and keep going down. We've now broken 100, and that's the first time we've been over 100 since May last year, if we're going to be honest. We did have a few attempts in November and December 2025, but it didn't happen. We have broken it. Now, the question is, is this going to hold as support? Is that going to hold and go a little bit higher, or are we going to come back down here? Okay. Now, the one thing you'll know about mainstream media is they will tell you about the DXY, the strength of the dollar. They'll tell you about it down here. Oh, Donald Trump's killed the economy. Donald Trump's done this. You know what you'll hear up here? You'll hear crickets. Crickets. Okay? Now, I am not pro-Trump. I am not pro-Biden. I take people as I see them. Now, what I don't like is media hype. That's really what I don't like, whether it's for the left, whether it's for the right, whether it's about crypto. That's why I don't like these people telling you we're going to $250,000 on Bitcoin in March. That's why I don't like people telling you we're going to $20,000 on Bitcoin in March, because I don't like the fear that it instills in you. We're human beings. We absorb that fear. Our nervous system builds up all of that fear. That's why when you retire and your body relaxes, bad things happen to you, because you have all of that stored, pent-up energy in your nervous system, which if you don't get released can lead to some very bad consequences. So feeding you fear is something you need to treat as if you're lying on a beach. You let it lap over you and wash away, okay? And that is probably where I'll leave the DXY. We're back above 100. It was our target for the DXY. At this moment in time, I don't think it's positive or negative about crypto, but it does show you that you don't believe everything you read in the press. That's kind of why I put it in, because I did see that we went above 100. It's only a matter of time before China invades Taiwan. It depends on when it happens, but it won't shake up the markets. Now, this is what I'm talking about. Now, I don't know who this is. It could be propaganda. Absolutely could be propaganda. But I have verified a lot of this information with other people. Now, maybe these other people are checking, but here is a map. Here is a map. Now, imagine you are the green bit. And just for argument's sake, you look at this map and I say to you, I don't think China's going to invade Taiwan, even though they've said for 3 years they're going to invade Taiwan, even though Xi himself said prepare for war, even though all of those things happened. And I'm showing you this map of there was a lot of movement of ships and planes and everything else. Now, the last time we saw something like this was on the Ukrainian border. Now, again, did I think that that would end up being a 4-year war? No, I didn't. But we now subsequently know that a certain British Prime Minister ripped up the peace agreement. So it would have lasted a lot less. I think Taiwan is gone. I said in 2024, probably I think September, October, November 2024, I said Taiwan would be gone within the next 3 to 5 years. Now we are in March 2026. This is, for me, probably a massive deal if the semiconductor businesses haven't been moved to America, which is what the Biden administration were working on. I don't know if you remember me talking about that back then. Otherwise, China will own the semiconductor business. And then that becomes a massive issue because Trump has played China's hand by what has gone on in Venezuela and Iran with regards to energy. So I think Trump has forced China's hand on this. Just my opinion, remember. So that's the question. Now, I believe there's going to be a very, very quick invasion. I don't think this is anywhere near the scale of Russia and Ukraine. I don't think it's anywhere near that scale. Taiwan is a smaller place. It's hard to say, but it appears that there's a majority of people there anyway who might not be separatists anyway. So I don't think it's going to be that big a deal. But I do think it's going to happen. Are we going to see the invasion this year? Maybe. Anyway, that's the question. Next, what we're going to do now, let me just very quickly check one thing. There we go. Right then. Let me move back to here. So many more buttons to click these days on this. Now then, tokenized oil. Trading volume surged to over $1.3 billion in 24-hour volume. Tokenized volume remains a tiny fraction of the total $6 trillion global oil market. Tokenization is crypto. Now, you're going to see a lot of people telling you that gaming is going to break crypto into the masses. I think tokenization is going to break crypto into the masses. If you wanted to trade oil on Saturday or Sunday, you'd have struggled. You'd have struggled to do it outside of crypto because the markets are closed. Hyperliquid, and other places. A lot of the exchanges nowadays, I'm not going to name names, but Binance is one of them, allowed you to trade oil. And this, I think, is going to force the hand of traditional markets. And the 24/7, 365 world that we live in, look back. In 5 years' time, look back and say, did you know, little Johnny, that back in 2026, you had to trade Nvidia stock between 8:30 and 4:30 p.m., 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., Monday to Friday, and you couldn't trade Nvidia on a Saturday or a Sunday? And little Johnny will look at you with his little eyes, because he's about 3, and say, that's amazing, Daddy. Tokenization and crypto really did change the world, because little Johnny's smart. And Daddy will say, absolutely, little Johnny. Now everything is online and you can trade it 24/7. Think how ridiculous it is that you can't buy a stock at 7 p.m. on a Saturday night. Why? Why can't you do that? Because it's constrained by 1930s, 1940s, 1950s mentality. Not necessarily by technology, but mentality. You can watch a movie on Netflix anytime you want. If you go back 15 years, you had to check the cinema timings for when that film was going to play. And then if that film wasn't playing at your cinema, you had to wait weeks and weeks and weeks for it to come out on a plastic box to shove into a machine to watch it in really poor quality. And now you can turn your TV on and watch anything you want anywhere in the world immediately. Okay? That was disrupting media, disrupting entertainment. What's on your screen now is a warning shot to traditional markets that they are going to lose out to the likes of Hyperliquid and Binance, and they're going to lose on a massive scale unless they all come online. So when we talk about adoption and what's going to be the real driver of adoption, it's traditional markets FOMOing in to crypto because of stuff like this. How can you take advantage? Every single night, Friday night, if you're going to put a bet on anything, is Trump going to invade anywhere? And you could pick when Trump is going to invade anywhere. He will invade at 7 p.m. on a Friday night, whatever it is in America, American Standard Time, okay? He waits until a Friday night to get Maduro. The Israel-Iran thing happened on a Friday night. The existing Iran thing happened on a Friday night. He waits for the markets to close because that gives him 3 days. 3 days to do whatever it is he wants to do. And then the markets open on Monday, and it's not as big a reaction as it would have been had he done it on a Monday morning at 10 a.m. He plays the markets like a fiddle. He's very good at it. But everybody in crypto benefited from that oil trade for at least the last 3 or 4 weekends, while the markets were shut, sitting there just watching Hyperliquid doing billions of volume. Now, it's billions of volume today. It will be tens of billions of volume in 6 or 12 months' time, and probably hundreds of billions of volume in the next 3 or 4 years. And traditional markets will all absolutely pile in. And this is showing them their backside and saying, this is what we need to do. Why haven't we done it yet? Who are these people? Who is Hyperliquid? US plans the Strait of Hormuz coalition announcement as soon as this week. This is going to happen. Ondo is the way, absolutely. In fact, I'll show you that tweet, which didn't include Ondo, believe it or not. I don't think I've included Ondo in that tweet. This is the one I put out. So basically, and we've kind of tried to do this for the last few years. The narrative for the next evolution of crypto is fundamentals, revenue, profits, and big boy business. Link, Aave, Hype, Syrup. They're all individual examples of projects that we follow very closely, or we monitor. Certainly with the likes of Link, certainly with the likes of Syrup, we're massively bullish on them. Hype, newcomer to the arena, still plenty of time for other people to come along and consume its market share. Aave is the global leader in DeFi. These are the projects that make revenue and profit. They are the projects right now that are benefiting from traditional finance being so crap. Am I going to share the same tweet now if I put this up? Have I already put it in as a tweet? Or is this a different tweet? Hopefully this is the same tweet. Yeah, perfect. I was going to do that anyway. So Taiwan, that's the question of the day. Are we going to see an invasion of Taiwan by China soon? That's the question. Now then, Bitcoin breaks free decoupling from traditional assets. Stock market in America, I think, is down about 5%. Oil is up over $100, $103 a barrel. Inflation is going up. No rate cuts. Bitcoin has gone from $60,000 to $73,000. What's happening? If you've seen any of our videos since January, there's a very good reason for this to be happening, but I'm going to show you that in a second. Now, Bitcoin's price trajectory often mirrored that of tech stocks and other growth assets. In times of economic uncertainty, Bitcoin would frequently experience sell-offs alongside equities, reflecting its perceived risk profile. However, the correlation has been weakened, particularly with the introduction and subsequent growth of spot Bitcoin ETFs. The emergence of these ETFs has provided easier access to Bitcoin for institutional investors. The market impact, we don't need to talk about this. The shift necessitates reassessment of risk management strategies. Bitcoin's volatility remains elevated compared to traditional assets, and its price can be influenced by crypto-specific events such as protocol updates, security vulnerabilities. Now, the reason I wanted to include this is this. Okay? Now, on Thursday or Friday last week, we talked about bowling for Columbine, which was humans trying to find a reason that something happens. And we see this with Bitcoin a lot. Why is Bitcoin going up? Oh, it's the money supply. Raoul Powell is a hero. We're going to go into the banana zone. I'm still waiting for my box of bananas, Raoul. We find reasons for things to happen because we don't believe that rational beings can do things. And we don't believe that these things can happen without a specific reason. Now, last year, we said that Bitcoin would come down in 2026. It's the midterm year. Bitcoin will come down. It's part of the cycle. It puts in the all-time high, and then it goes into the following year, and it puts in a new low or a low, and then it will recover towards the end of the year, and by the midterms, it will come out the other end. Now, we said all of that before anybody went near Venezuela, before anybody went near Iran, okay? Because it's a pattern. It's a cyclical pattern that happens in the life cycle of Bitcoin. But what we do along the way is we find reasons why it goes up, and then we're confused when it comes down because it's coming down outside of everything else. Because the conversation a few weeks ago is, why is the stock market going up and Bitcoin coming down? And now the stock market's coming down and Bitcoin's going up. And everyone's going, but hang on a minute, you said it was the money supply. You said it was something to do with the banana. You said it was something to do with this, that, and the other. It's never one thing. We call them Donald's ducks, don't we? That's what we call them, because you need a multitude of things to line up in a way to not push Bitcoin up, but allow Bitcoin to go up, okay? It's not a case of Bitcoin needs these things to happen to bring it down or go up, but they need to just be out of the way. Bitcoin doesn't need a reason to go up, but it has many things that can happen to push it down. So the best thing for me to do is to show you the chart. I did a video today, which I said at the start of the stream, which I've put out. The video's out there. Go and watch it. It's about 15 minutes long. And it's a little bit like Groundhog Day. I'm saying the same thing over and over again. And the reason is that if we follow what happened with Bitcoin without having any of these crises, Bitcoin breaks below the bull market support band. It then rallies back into the bull market support band, gets rejected and comes down. And then it has a relief rally. Now, where we were absolutely wrong was coming down to $60,000. We didn't say $60,000. We said 80 and 74. We were wrong, but the play was the same. Now, the next, and this is the crux of the show, the doomed element of the show, is we have 3 lines here where we will find resistance. We will find resistance, and we will find it at 74,000, which we've come to 3 times now. We will get it at about 80,700, and then we'll get it on the bottom of the bull market support band. They are the 3 prices to the upside. Each of these prices is going to get you your favorite call telling you we are going to go to $500,000. You are going to be rich beyond your wildest dreams. Click below to get to my marketing plan that's only going to cost you $100 or whatever it is that they do these days. Okay? That move is the relief rally, which we had back in 2022 and somewhat in 2018 as well. It's as if it's written in the stars. Then what we will do is we will probably put in a lower low. And this is where the contention is, because I think we are going to go down to about there, 50,400. Now, that is a line in the sand. Can be crossed, but 50,400, I think, is a 60% correction to the downside. That's where I think we're going to go. The Oracle, who will be streaming in a couple of hours, he thinks we're going to go somewhere in this range here. Now, in the chat before, Bitcoin Buyer, he was saying that he thinks we will be somewhere near $100,000 by the end of the year. Now, you can laugh, right? And you might, when we come down here, you might think he's absolutely crazy. But my target for the end of the year is about $94,000, which is not a million miles away. And the reason is the midterms. And there was a chart that I brought up on Friday that I showed you. We underperform by 30 to 50% in the market in a year before the midterm. And then for about 6 months, or it was measured for about 6 months after the midterm, we have gone up systematically higher each time. So I think it was 20 something percent, 30 something percent. I think it was 50% higher in the last midterm year. So this line here, which is October. So my play is this. We do something like this. We do something like this. And then we wiggle around down here, accumulation maybe, and then we hit the midterm, and then we start to wick back up, and we go back up. That's how I see it playing. This entire thing down here is very, very similar to 2022 and 2018. And what you need to look at is when you see people showing you a chart, is you need to look at what year that chart is that they are showing you. So you're going to see a lot of people showing you the 2021 chart. Well, 2021 chart was the bull run year. They're not showing you the 2022 chart. They're showing you 2021. So they're showing you the year that Bitcoin is doing this. But if you look at the year, which is the same period of time as we're in now in the cycle, you will see that it does this. But they sell you this hopium because they want you to click on their links. I keep doing it. One day I'm going to learn how to use TradingView. Until then, you're going to have to put up with me writing the wrong things on the charts. So 50,000, 55,000 is pretty much the consensus for our bottom in this bull run. It's about a 60-ish% correction to the downside. We're putting in diminishing losses as well as diminishing returns. That's my thesis. So I think we came down 73% in the last bull run. I think we're going to come down 60-ish%, 60% in this bull run. Diminishing returns applies to the top and it applies to the bottom. So rather than Bitcoin doing this, Bitcoin is kind of now in the point of doing this. Okay, so the volatility that we had 6-7 years ago is now this, because it's a bigger asset. It's harder to move. We've got new players. We've got institutions. We have that extra money. And it's all well and good ignoring all of that and saying, you know, that doesn't count. That doesn't count. Everything counts in fractions. Everything makes a little bit of a difference. And we can't get away from the fact that Bitcoin has a larger market cap now than it did 4 years ago, and 8 years ago, and 12 years ago. That is an undeniable fact. We've got a $1.3 trillion asset. I think we go lower. I don't think we go as low as some people are saying, which is, some people are saying 30,000, some people are saying 40,000. Now, if I'm wrong, I don't mind being wrong. It's my hypothesis. That's what matters to me. And so far, we've played it to perfection. Now, at no point have we mentioned a war in any of this. We've not mentioned rate cuts in any of this. What we've mentioned is the cycle, and the cycle does fit with the midterms, and the midterms have an effect on the market. Yes, of course. But we've not mentioned Iran. We did this move before we knew about Iran. So when the question arises, why are we rallying then when everything else is crashing? Because we've already played out the rejection. We've been oversold, massively oversold down here, and now we've got the relief. But at some point, we come down again. And that's all it is. And that's all it is. And if you want to find a narrative that fits with that, absolutely fine. If you want to believe in the banana zone, the money supply, liquidity, whatever you want to believe in, that's fine. But I'm just going to stick to the pattern. I'm just going to stick to the pattern because that's what I believe in. Now then, I have got some almighty. Thank you, DRW. Lovely comment. Now, Adam Back warns Bitcoin community of literal downgrade. Why BIP 110 being labeled Trojan horse for Bitcoin? Now, the reason I've included this one is very simply put. There is on Ethereum, on Solana, on Cardano, and all of the major changes, they have different groups of changes that they make to each kind of stage of a cycle. So Ethereum's doing a lot of EIPs. Solana's got a new one that's coming in that's going to speed it up. The Bitcoin one, this is contentious. And I'm kind of on the side of Adam Back. So the long and short of it is this. Let me get you the reason this is happening. BIP 110 is a Bitcoin improvement proposal put forward by a developer under the pseudonym Dathon Om in December last year. The goal was to limit the volume of arbitrary data, images, and video that are being written into the blockchain through protocols such as ordinals and runes. And if you remember back 2-3 years ago, ordinals and runes came out. It ground the Bitcoin chain to an absolute halt. The number of transactions, there was backlogs, it was crazy. Now, what they are suggesting that they do to stop this clog is to stop that stuff from being added. And they want to do it through a soft fork to filter the spam. So they want to physically change the way this is happening on the blockchain. And the issue is, and Adam Back points this out, you've now got a split in Bitcoin. Do you stay neutral and uncensorable, or do you go down a path of stopping spam? That's the path. If it stays neutral, it stays pure. If it goes down the path of filtering out images, video, whatever it might be, the issue you've got is you're now saying what can or cannot be added to the blockchain. So it becomes a censored blockchain. So whether we like the fact that the spam added or not, the fact that we are censoring it, for me, undermines the principle of Bitcoin. And that's the issue that I have got. That's the issue that I have got. Just give me a second. There we go. Right. So, Satoshi himself mentioned in the Bitcoin white paper, he mentioned Adam in the Bitcoin white paper, He has come out against BIP 110. First and foremost, they cite the threat to neutrality. BAC believes the attempt to censor transaction types at the consensus level are more harmful to the network than the spam itself, which he has been actively fighting. Second, the risk of confiscation. The proposal could make some existing UTXOs unusable, which effectively amounts to freezing user funds. Finally, there is a risk of a network split, activating a soft fork without broad agreement, with a proposed threshold of 55 instead of 95%. Again, it's important for me that Bitcoin stays neutral. And I don't care what is being added to the chain. There needs to be neutrality. There needs to be the ability for Bitcoin to not censor anything. Now this, for me, is trying to do something through the back door, down here. Activating a soft fork without broad agreement with a proposed threshold of 55% instead of 95%. It can't be done. It can't be done. So for me, I'm on the side of Adam Back. This is a slippery slope. If you do stuff like this, what you're doing is you are basically making Bitcoin no better than anything else, in my opinion. It cannot be allowed, and hopefully it won't pass, and hopefully people will understand. It's a little bit like free speech. You don't like what everybody has to say. That's fine. But it's not a criminal offence for somebody to say it. As long as you're not inciting violence or inciting people to commit harm to others, you should have an opinion that's allowed. Bitcoin, whether you like it or not, should be allowed to have any transaction added to it. Okay? Now, there are, of course, lines in the sand, such as, a threat adding text and then blocking them is a slippery slope, because the second that gets passed, that allows governments to censor Bitcoin. And we don't want any of that. Now then, let me very quickly check chat for 1 second. Everybody messages me during a live stream. Nobody messages me at 10 in the morning before the stream goes live. Everybody messages me. Now then, very quickly, going to check over and make sure everything is working. Make sure everything is fine. Now, remember, question of the day, and we're not getting many people answering it, which means it's probably going to be very short-lived. Will China invading Taiwan happen and cause a Bitcoin crash? Let me know in chat. Binanceans, comment below and let me see what you have to say. Now then, let's move on and make sure the screen is off here. Right. There we go. Now, Ethereum is approaching the price where we are going to consider selling some of our Ethereum. Still got a while to go, but if Bitcoin does go on to 80,000, 85,000, then we're certainly going to be looking at selling some of our Ethereum. Not all of it, and it will only be Ethereum that we sell this time. And then we're going to sit on the cash and hopefully wait for the retracement that we are talking about. Now, Ethereum Whales sold 380,000 ETH worth 800 million over the last week. However, what I would say to that is 380,000 ETH have been bought over the last 7 days from the whales. So there's for every seller, there has to be a buyer. The MVRV long short difference deep in negative zone signals STH dominance limiting ETH recovery. ETH holds between 1917 and 2158. What are we currently at right now? Are we over 22? Are we at 2250 now? Yeah. Okay. So we're above that zone right now, which again, Bitcoin is at 73,000. This article was written yesterday before the pump. Ethereum has been trapped in consolidation for weeks, repeatedly failing to escape its established range despite multiple breakout attempts. Price action remains compressed and directionless, as is the rest of the market. Whales activity is now adding a new layer of downward pressure. This threatens to extend the consolidation phase or push ETH towards lower support levels. Now, we're going to bring up the Ethereum chart here because, again, this is one of those charts. We've had it for a while. I've not looked at this for a while. We've not really looked at many charts for a while other than Bitcoin. mainly because the Oracle now does his live streams, which reminds me, the Oracle is streaming in 2.25 hours. Now, this is where we are with Ethereum. Now, we can probably bring this down a little bit because this is kind of the zone that we are looking at. We have had this line here at $2,100 as our line for months. Okay, probably back since, I would say, we've had this line on this chart probably since the beginning of January. And we've just broken it. Now, there are a few other levels up on here that I want to draw your attention to. One is coming in at this fib level here, and that is around about $2,400. Then above that, we have got probably somewhere we're not going to get to in the foreseeable future, which is about $2,700 for ETH. I don't see this relief rally dragging us all the way back up here on ETH. On Bitcoin, maybe. I just don't see it on ETH. And I think 25, 24, I think around there is a good target for ETH. We're at 22.62, so we've only really got to go another, what, 5 or 6% to get there. I think that's entirely possible. But please don't FOMO in to this relief rally until it's confirmed that we are not in fact in a relief rally and we are recovering from the low. So if we say Bitcoin has put in the low at 60,000, as I said before, we break above that $85,000 range, we start to get into 90, then yeah, maybe we do look up. But if we were doing the same thing for ETH, we're talking about ETH getting above $2,700. So what we would need to see from ETH is something like this, where we break above and then we do this. Now, again, I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening before October. And we are only in March. So we have got 7 months. I don't see this happening. Now, the relief rally, in my opinion, can go on probably, what are we on today? 16th. Probably can go on for maybe another 3 to 5 weeks, maybe. And then we're going to come to the downside again. So in that time, can Bitcoin go up to 80, 85? Yes. Can Ethereum go to $2,400, $2,500? Probably yes. But if we're wrong, then we have to break that line there, in my opinion, and we need to get back above that line there. Above the bull market support band is bullish. Below the bull market support band is bearish. And it's all well and good. It's all well and good people celebrating this move. Okay, that move from there has taken us from 1770. So it's taken us pretty much $500 to the upside on Ethereum. Okay. But we have got very short-term memories when we were sitting at $3,300 in the middle of January. And now we're celebrating 33% lower. We're celebrating that we've carried out this move. Okay. When we zoom out and we see where we've come from, you then realize that this is a good move. Yes. But there's a long way to go. We've got to do all of this before we can start talking about moving on to anywhere near a good price. And again, when I say things that people don't like, you get people saying that we're wrong. Now, saying that we're wrong is fine. Having your own opinion is absolutely fine. But at the end of the day, if I say something you don't like, that's also fine, because you can say something that I don't like either. It's absolutely fine. This is how it's played out over multiple previous cycles. If that cycle breaks, those are the targets we've got to get above. We've got to break 85,000 on Bitcoin. We've got to break $2,700 on Ethereum. If we break them and hold them and go higher, then that cycle is broken. But so far, we are still playing the same game, and we've still got to wait till October to move higher. Now then, this is the accusation that was made against XRP from a major holder. Now, I'm not just going to sit here and always cover the best news on my favorite projects or the best news on the big coins. I'm also going to look at the criticism these coins get, because then you get a fair balance. And there has always been a lot of controversy about XRP. I don't know if you remember, they had to pay the fine. Was it $100 million? I think they had to pay about $130 million on their fine. And a few months before, I think it was 2 or 3 months before that fine was announced, XRP, or Ripple, sorry, sold about $100 million worth of XRP, and the price dropped. I'm sure you can go back and find it on the XRP chart. That was to pay their fine. And when we subsequently found out about the fine, people then went back and found the sale of XRP, which was months in advance. And then they were accused of all things and whatever it might, whatever. But again, if the Ethereum Foundation was fined, if the Solana Foundation was fined, do you think that they wouldn't sell some of their Solana and Ethereum to pay the bill? Of course they would. So you can't treat XRP any differently. If Solana did the same thing, people probably wouldn't bat an eyelid. Oh, it's a scam chain, whatever it might be. If Binance was fined $200 million, they'd have to find the $200 million from somewhere. So they'd probably sell some of their assets. So I don't have an issue with it. What I have an issue with is this. Systematic rigging is different to selling your assets to pay a debt. Yeah. If you get fined, let's say you go speeding. Oh, no, let's pick something that's slightly less criminal than that. Let's say Mags doesn't pay his council tax, and then it ends up being worth £5,000 that he owes in council tax. Would there be a problem in Mags selling his car or selling some of his stocks and shares to pay that? This is a deliberate and recurring scheme to push the token's price up before US markets open, then drive it back down once trading begins. This sounds an awful lot like what we were talking about a few weeks ago with the Bitcoin price. I don't know if you remember that. The claimers split the XRP community between those who see a coordinated attack and those who say the data points to something far more routine. The community figure at the center of the debate goes by Arthur. He posted a historical price chart showing XRP surging towards key resistant levels in the hours before the US markets open, then quickly reversing after trading begins. He counted 9 seconds, calling it a possible new Jane Street playbook, a reference to the trading firm that was doing this to Bitcoin. I don't believe that this is the case. Just give me 1 second. Wait for the stream to catch up. I think we are back. What adds weight to the frustration, at least from his perspective, is the broader backdrop. Ripple has made headlines recently with billion-dollar acquisitions. We know about that. Not everyone in the XRP community has bought into the argument. Come on, Arthur, not everything is manipulation. Now, again, what I will say about this is that we will find a way and a reason for things to happen. And the issue with Jane Street is I don't believe that can have the effect that it had on Bitcoin. I don't believe that Brad Garlinghouse and the team are actively doing this. If you look at what tends to happen in crypto, the weekends don't have the volume of the week. So the moves don't tend to happen that drastically over the weekend unless there's a major global event. And then what you tend to see is the Asian markets open and the price starts to move in that direction because the volume comes in. Now, comparing the price of a token before the volume arrives and then comparing the price of a token after the volume arrives, it's really much sentiment based. So what's the market sentiment when it opens on Monday? Is oil high, as we're talking about now? Is the oil price high? Are we not going to look at inflation cuts? How's the job market looking? How's the house price looking? Those kind of things. So I don't think it's fair to accuse anybody of systematic rigging, because this becomes slightly libelous, in my opinion. I don't know whether X posts count as slander or libel. I suppose it's libel, but it would be slanderous if it was a video, I suppose. But I don't believe there's systematic rigging. Again, this is people looking for things that aren't there. Again, look at when the ETFs went live. There was a big controversy about Bitcoin and BlackRock and a certain other exchange in America that we don't talk about, the blue and white one. And what people were doing was they were saying, well, BlackRock aren't buying the Bitcoin. They're not buying the Bitcoin. There's no buys. These other people are rigging the markets. And then they realized that the ETFs work on a T-1, which is a 24-hour or 48-hour, I can't remember which way around it was, but it's one of those, for the market to actually come back and buy those tokens. So when BlackRock buy, there is a delay between the purchase and when it's actually bought. And in traditional stock markets, that's just how it works. T-1, T-2, whatever it might be. But that's the reason the price of Bitcoin went down. It's because BlackRock isn't buying real Bitcoin. They're buying paper Bitcoin. Then it's Jane Street. Oh, Jane Street are rigging the market. The entire $1.6 trillion asset is being ruined by Jane Street trading 800 Bitcoin on a Monday morning. I don't buy into that either. Does manipulation go on? Absolutely. The silver price has been manipulated in the past. Companies have been fined. Interest rates have been manipulated in the past. Companies have been fined. It does go on. I just don't believe for 1 second that this is anything other than fiction. You know, it's a little bit, you see it quite a lot in other aspects as well, especially if you're looking at like conspiracy theory type people. There's a balloon floating across the screen. Oh, it's a UFO. No, it's a party balloon. You see it all the time. People see what they want to see. Now then, we're going to run out of time, which is a good thing because I wanted to run out of time today. I didn't want to simply go through the motions today. I wanted to put a bit more into this stream. So we're not going to get to cover all the topics, but I do want to talk about this one. This is an interesting one, and it's a bit different because it's about a tweet. It's not necessarily about an article. And I basically want to show you the mindset of somebody. Now, he's talking about his strategy here, which is not super important. He's taken profits. The markets are waking up. He's talking about his portfolio being up from $35,000 to $45,000. Nowhere near profits, but we see a good start and some momentum. My biggest bets are NEAR and TAO. The AI crypto narrative is one of the core angles. And then he talks about his sales. Absolutely no problem with that. What I want to show you is this. And the reason I want to show you this, now let me see how it looks on the screen. My head isn't in the way, which is always a good sign. Now this is Michelle or Michael, let's call him Michael van der Pop's portfolio. This is a $140,000 portfolio. And on the left-hand side, you can see total invested $140,000, current value about $45,000. So he's down 66%. Your portfolios should be down anywhere between 50 and 75%, depending on what you own. Now, if memory serves me right, I think Michael or Michelle sold his Bitcoin to buy Ethereum. I think that was the move that he made last year or the year before. I think it was last year. And I can't see Ethereum on here, so this could be a different portfolio. Again, but look at what he's bought. Look at what he's weighed in at. And look at the price of those tokens. Look at the value of those tokens. And look how far he is down. Your portfolio, the rule of thumb is, for me, if Bitcoin goes from 126,000 to 63,000, that's a 50% drop. If you can get your portfolio to be as close as 50% down as possible, you've done well. Now, I am Bitcoin heavy. You are probably not Bitcoin heavy, which means I am more than likely going to be down a lot less than you, unless you're in tokens like Hype and some of the other tokens that have outperformed the market recently, or you've got into a gem that's gone from 10 million to 500 million, that's different. But if we're talking about top 20, top 30, top 40 projects, he is down. In fact, he's probably down a lot more because he's invested 160, I think, if you add on the other two. Oh, no, 170,000 because he's gone in February and March. So he's at 170,000 and he's at 44, 45. So he's down 70%, something like that. But he's gone alt heavy, but specifically alt heavy. And what I wanted to mention is he's got a strategy to focus on crypto AI stocks. And that's his strategy. Your strategy doesn't necessarily have to be this strategy or my strategy, but it has to be a strategy. Are you simply buying your tokens because you like the look of them? Are you buying the tokens because they all tick 6 or 7 boxes? Are you buying your tokens because they're on a chain that you like? So are you a Solana maxi, where you've got Solana and Dupe, and maybe you've got Orca, maybe you've got Ray, for example? That's also fine. But have a strategy for your portfolio. Don't just watch a call or YouTuber or whatever. Don't just watch them and say, I'm going to go and buy that token. That sounds really good. Have a look at what your strategy is and think about, what do I actually want from this portfolio? Now, on the left-hand side, there are many good tokens there which are down a lot. I only really hold near of his tokens, but that doesn't make me any better than him. He's got a strategy and he's sticking to it. Now, there are other projects on there. Now, Woo, he's got a very, very small allowance in, and Woo is a really good DEX, but it's also down massively. It's down again from $3,000 to $776. But on the right-hand side, you see this thing called a percentage, and that is what he is in. That's his allocation. So if you were to do your own allocation, you would say, right, I'm going to be top tier blue chip tokens, and I'm going to go 60% Bitcoin, 20% Ethereum, and then I've got 20% left. So I'm going to go and look at whether I want Solana, BNB, Cardano, Hype, whatever it might be. Or you might want to do something like this and say, right, well, I'm going to hedge my bets. I'm going to go big with Bitcoin. I'm going to be 50, 60% in Bitcoin. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 40% of my portfolio and I'm going to have to go after AI projects, AI blockchains, whatever it might be. That's what I'm going to do. But either way, have a strategy. If you sent me your portfolio and I asked you to write a paragraph about why you hold that portfolio, would you be able to write that in a paragraph? Or would you have to write your portfolio in 3 pages of A4 to explain each and every token? Why do you hold those tokens? That's the question you got to ask yourself. And now, as we go into maybe a bit of a relief rally, if you start to get back into profit on some of your tokens that maybe don't fit with whatever your strategy is, it would be a good time to take profits. I'll always say take profits, whether we're going down or whether we're going up. But just think about it. Just sit there, look at your portfolio and say, is this what I need? And the other thing to do is to balance your portfolio. As he said here, he's sold some of his Tau, and I think he's gone into, or he's bought into, I think, near, something like that. If you were an altcoin, which is up 300 or 400%, sell a third, sell a half, take some profits. Okay, it's never a bad thing. People were asking about taking profits out of Hype at $50, $55. I was saying it was not a bad idea to take profits at any time. That then came down to $20. You could have bought back in at a lower price. We're not going to see these prices between now and 2029 just continue to go up in a straight line. So you're going to be able to take profits along the way. And maybe you start to get to the point where profits can be taken. And that's why you don't take it all. So let's say you buy $10,000 worth of TAU today, and the market goes on an incredibly good relief rally, and that $10,000 becomes $20,000. Let's say you take your original $10,000 out. You now have a free bag of TAU, and you've got your $10,000 back. And then the market corrects to the downside, and then you can go and look at another project. That's how I would be viewing this. And probably one of the reasons I'm looking to sell some of my Ethereum is I was buying Ethereum at $70. So I'm up an awful lot on my Ethereum. And I could probably sell now, but I'm not going to. But just think about your portfolio. That's all I'm going to say. Now then, we have overrun. So we're going to go over here. And the things that I didn't talk about today, we didn't talk about Melee. I might cover that tomorrow. We didn't talk about what is artificial general intelligence. I might talk about that tomorrow. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Dawn has asked about Bitcoin. Bitcoin, I think, is going to go 74, 80, or $84,000 in the next few weeks. They're the three targets to the upside. And then I think we're going to come down. And then I think we're going to come down to about 50,000. That's my opinion. It is not the opinion of everybody else in crypto. You will watch somebody else who is going to tell you we're going to keep going up. And again, that's just the way it is. So thank you all for watching. We've overrun again. The Oracle is back in 2 hours. So in 2 hours' time, we're going to have our trading stream or chart stream. So make sure to tune in for that. That is already set up on Binance, and it's already set up on YouTube as well. So thank you all for tuning in. Have a great day. I am back tomorrow. Thank you, KB. Thank you, Mags. Thank you, Danny. Thank you to DRW, calling it a BS stream. Listen, you can say what you want. I'm more than happy for anybody to come in here and say what they want. But back up your statement. Why is it BS? Do you think we've bottomed at 60 and we're now going to go to 200,000? Back up your statement. If you come in here and say stuff like that, then I think you're going to get blocked. I think Hidden Agendas might have blocked you. Message deleted. I think you got your message deleted. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you, everybody. Take care.